All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA offseason video. But this one, we're going to be previewing the regular season, talking about win projections for teams in the West, talking about potential lineups, acquisitions for teams, players that have left these teams, and all that good stuff. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. I will say, as a preface to the rest of these videos, there's this one and another one coming. Well, actually, this one, another one, and then the final one. Um, some preseason games have been played. I have gotten the chance to see some of these teams play, some of the lineups they're going to win out there. So I just want to make that clear. In some of the Eastern Conference videos, I think in almost all the Eastern Conference videos, um, no preseason games had been played. So we do have a little taste of what these teams are going to look like. Um, but I really do just want to jump into what I think about these teams. My first reactions, I do have to get the rosters up, so I'll do that in a second. But the teams we're going to be talking about in this video, obviously in front of you right now, the Denver Nuggets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, defending NBA champions, the Utah Jazz, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Portland Trailblazers. Funnily enough, I could not find any pictures, like any clear pictures of the Blazers from last year. I just couldn't find any. I know I probably could have gone on their social media page and found one, but I usually just Google some pictures, and the only one I could find was Damian Lillard returning to Portland. So that's what you're gonna get, Blazers fans. I apologize in advance. Um, but let me get those rosters up real quick, and then I will jump into my analysis here. All right. So the first team I want to start with here is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they are projected to win 50 games this year. That is from BetMGM Sportsbook. That's where I've gotten all these win projections from. I don't think any of them moved around too much, but my first reaction to this team and what they've done in this offseason is not a lot of offseason moves, actually. They retain a competitive team, and that is always good. However, I do not think, or actually, I do not know about this collection of talent. They can definitely tango with some of the better teams in the West, but can they be the best? Um, can they be the best? I think there have been very promising signs of the last couple years. Um, I, I, I like them against a lot of the teams we've previewed already in the West. Those teams being like the Kings, the Suns, the Clippers, the Lakers, Warriors. I like them against those teams. I do, and they beat the Lakers last year in the playoffs, if memory serves me correctly. But I don't completely know about this team, and I don't think the 50 win mark is unrealistic. Um, I think that they'll be a really good regular season team. I think they're always a pretty competitive, good regular season team. It's about being taking that step from good to great that they need to do. Um, but to even get to the finals, even the Western Conference Finals, um, or let's say go deep in the Western Conference Finals, this is like Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, for example, right? Um, I, I, I don't like it. A team consisting of Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert doesn't make a convincing case for me, personally. I've never been the biggest Julius Randle fan. I think last year he got some really good run. Julius Randle, number 30, mid right of your screen here. I've never been the biggest fan of Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle is just okay. My favorite version of Julius Randle was when he was on the New Orleans Pelicans. That was my favorite version of him. Obviously, he's a much improved player now, but that was my favorite version of him. And ever since then, he's sort of been like hit or miss of what he really is. And I think last year in the playoffs, especially, he had a really good run defending LeBron James. Obviously, in advanced years, LeBron James, but still defending one of the greatest players of all time. Offensively, looked solid some games. Other games, but that's the Julius Randle experience. Um, I think the biggest thing is that Ant, Anthony Edwards, his improvement from last year, um, needs to be mentioned. Um, his 3-point percentage was crazy good comparative to last year's. He was tops in the league in 3-point percentage, 3 points attempted, 3 points made, I believe, as well. So he really took that step and added that to his game. But I don't foresee anybody else um, taking a step. I don't think Jaden McDaniels is anything more than what he is right now. Even though I like Jaden McDaniels, I would rather this team be built around Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, and Anthony Edwards. I think that core group is better than the three in front of you right now, which is Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert. I don't like it. Um, the fact that this year, this offseason, they had to pay everybody essentially. They paid Julius Randle. They paid Naz Reid. I think they paid Jaden McDaniels maybe the season before, or there was something with him. He has a contract going forward, is what I'm trying to get at here. Rudy Gobert is at the end of his tenure, his mega long contract, his mega expensive contract as well, which is good. I think this team, just projecting forward, which I normally don't do in these types of videos, but projecting forward fully, I think this team without Rudy Gobert is going to be better. I think once Rudy Gobert is off this team, even though the defensive numbers and the advanced numbers with Rudy Gobert are really eye popping and really like, oh wow, you really need Rudy Gobert out there. I don't think you need Rudy Gobert out there. I think Rudy Gobert is a net negative in the playoffs. I think he's a net negative offensively. He gets played off the court far too many times for my liking personally. And as somebody who's invested in Ant as a player, and I really like Ant as we'll say, a person, um, I think the best thing is to have the paint cleared, get Rudy out of there, and let Naz Reid be the floor spacer that he is, even though he's an undersized five, and let Ant really cook. I think Ant is at his best when he's scoring at all three levels, near the rim, mid range, and then at the three. I think that's the best version of Anthony Edwards. And I don't know if we'll see it when Rudy Gobert's in this on this team. We'll talk about the 50-win projection in a second. I do want to go through this roster real quick because I like to give my first reactions to these rosters as well that have been confirmed. Um, let's see what we have here. So returning faces: Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Leonard Miller, Mike Conley, the vet, Rob Dillingham, who looks somewhat promising in preseason. I think everybody looks somewhat promising in preseason. Rudy Gobert, Janglin, Joe Ingles. I like Joe Ingles a lot. He's been in the league a minute now. Naz Reid, Julius Randle, Johnny Juzang. Johnny Juzang is probably the one that could probably take a leap. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know. Bones, who never really played, and then you got a bunch of guys. Um, yeah, it's not a really, I won't say it's I don't want to say it's not a deep team, but it's not a team full of guys that really like, oh my god, this is a really good team. I mean, like, well, you got Ant, Jaden, Rudy, Nas, Julius. It's your five, and then it gets kind of scary. Terrence Shannon did a lot of good stuff in the playoffs last year. I assume he could also take a step, maybe. I think the guys to keep an eye on to take a step are like Johnny Juzang, um, Terrence Shannon Jr., and then Rob Dillingham. I think those are the guys who could really take a step forward this year if they're given the minutes they need. But this is the complicated thing when you're a team that's always competitive and you still have young talent on your roster that you haven't given up on and you're just like keeping them there. Um, you have to give them room to develop, and sometimes in the heat of a season, you're not gonna get the chance to develop. Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, they're going to have to be playing like 20, 25 to 35 minutes a game, and you're going to get like 5, 10, 15 a game. Maybe 10, on a night where you really got it going. Um, Chris Finch as a coach, I like. I don't think he gets out coached that often. I think some of his rotations and his trust in like guys like Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert sometimes isn't rewarded, but other times it works out. Um, Looking at this roster though, since I haven't looked at it since the end of last season, I kind of wanted to be surprised when looking at these rosters. It's okay. It's very similar to last year. I think it's just, again, it's gonna be they're gonna be a competitive regular season team. Um, to get back to the win projections, 50 on the season this season, starting next week. Um, I think it's reasonable for me. I don't foresee any drop off. I think this is a team that's gonna try to go for a higher seed. That's gonna push for this 50 win mark and then go above that 50 win mark if they can, if everybody's healthy. But I I we'll talk about the playoffs when we get there in a bunch of months. But this is a good regular season team to me. 50 wins is not unreasonable at all. It's very reasonable. Um, moving on here. Let's move on here. Bottom left, the Denver Nuggets. Man, oh man, the Denver Nuggets. I feel like when I was I have these notes here that I'm looking at. When I was looking at when I was typing these notes out yesterday, I was like, I feel like I've talked about the Nuggets so much this offseason. And it's because they were very busy this offseason. They were very, very, very busy this offseason. Um, I'm absolutely in love with the offseason they had. They bought in wait, let me rewind here. I'm absolutely impressed with the offseason and the talent they brought in for this group. You know, obviously adding to the guys in front of you, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, um, Peyton Watson, Christian Braun, adding even more to that group um, was an amazing offseason by the front office. Um, I'm totally bought in on this group. I think they have the potential to be one of the best in the West. I haven't said that throughout the course of any of these videos, although these Western Conference videos of anointing a team as this team is going to be the best in the West or one of the best. I'm putting my flag in the Denver Nuggets this year. I think they're going to be one of the best in the West. Um, the group of guys, we'll get to the group of guys in a second, but last season with their new head coach, he impressed me a lot. Um, Jokic being one of the best players, if not the best player in the league. I think this off season, I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about who are the best players, and we might do who are the best players after like the first week of the NBA. We'll see what happens. Um, but I I'm coming around to the idea that Nikola Jokic is probably the best player in the league. And I know Shea just won the MVP. I know he's the champion, but the amount of talent that the Nuggets used to have and now that they have is going to be a stark difference. And people are going to really come around to the idea of this guy is truly the the best player. He already has a bunch of MVPs to his name. He's a champion, Finals MVP, all this stuff. But to come around to the fact that he is the best is taking a lot of time for some people. Um, and I think for once, this team makes sense and they have all the right parts. Even when they won the championship, I don't feel like they had all the right parts. I feel like they had enough of the right parts. This time around, I feel like they do have all the right parts at all the right time. Everybody's, I won't say in their prime, but everybody's knows their role, so to speak. I think that's a great thing. I do worry about them relying on guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. Has never been the most consistent guy. I do worry about them trusting Valanciunas as like the Jokic backup or play. I saw a lineup the other night when they played a preseason game where they had Jokic and Valanciunas on the floor at the same time. I like that a lot. I don't know how often they're going to do that. How often Coach Adelman's going to do that, but I did like that a lot. And I think the thing with Val for me is like how consistent is 3 point shot going to be? They ran a lot of the same actions that they do with Jokic with Valanciunas. Um, which was what was expected. Valanciunas, another European center who's familiar with the schemes that Jokic runs. Is familiar because he had to guard Jokic for one, but is familiar with the system. I think, and I'm going to be very interested as well. I don't have this in my notes here at all, but I'm going to be very interested to see what Coach Adelman does with Jokic being the system because Jokic has always been the system as long as he's been in his prime. He's been the system. Is there going to be moments where Jokic is off the floor and it actually doesn't look too bad? Those are going to be interesting minutes as well. Um, but I think Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes and role is going to be small enough to let some bad games go. To let some games where you're like, oh well, he doesn't have it going. He doesn't have it going. We got two other guys. We got Cam Johnson. We got a bunch of these other guys that we'll get to in a second, that can make up the difference for them having a bad night or one of them having a bad night. Um, Jamal Murray is also one of the question marks I have for this season. I'd like him to return to that all-star caliber level instead of just making an occasional appearance like he did last season throughout the course of the season, where he would just occasionally show up and have some really solid games. You're like, oh my God, where is this all the time? And I sat here in the same seat um, over and over and over again whenever I talk about the Nuggets. And I was like, whenever I talked about the Nuggets and whenever Jamal Murray had a good game, I was like, this is one of the best teams. If Jamal Murray could do this every freaking night and Jokic could just give you 20, 10, and 10, this is one of the best teams. And I hope that can still happen for Jamal Murray. I mean, I think he's sort of gone off the beaten path since being injured. I think last year was a really good step in his progression of getting back from that injury. From God, when was it? So he got injured 2020, right? And then he sat out all of 2021. So he came back in 22. That was a bad year. 23 was okay. And then they won the championship in 23, right? Am I misremembering that? Yeah, they won the championship with him. He was okay. He had an okay year. And then sort of after that, he's been he played in the Olympics. It wasn't so good. He had an ass season. And now we're here in 2025, 2026. And I need him to return to that, at least what he was when they won the championship. You know, he wasn't even 100% then. You know, he wasn't even the best version of himself then. But if he could give me something similar to that, I think this is one of the best teams in the West. Um, the bottom line is he needs to be more consistent. I think that's the bottom. Even if he doesn't ever return to the the version of himself where he was an all-star, I think him just being more consistent is the key to this team being really good. Because there are a lot of shots to go around now. You know, the departure of Michael Porter Jr., who was taking a lot of shots, the integration and the acquisition of Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jonas Valanciunas, Bruce Brown back into the fold for the Nuggets. Interesting stuff. Um, Speaking of guys I just named, let's talk about the roster here. I want to talk about the roster. Um, let's see here. So yeah, actually let's go from the bottom to the top. So yeah, we got Christian Braun, who I think is somebody who could take a leap this year. Peyton Watson, who solidified himself in this rotation, I think. Nikola Jokic, the MVP, multiple time MVP. Julian Strawthard, I think Julian Strawthard gave him some good stuff. He could also improve. Um, Cam Johnson, huge pickup. Still have Zeke Naji, still have Aaron Gordon. Um, Still have Murray, obviously. Not Christian Braun. Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Kessler Edwards, who's still a big question mark. Um, Moses Brown, and then Jonas Valanciunas. I like this team. All these names pop out to me. All these names scream like key rotational players. If one person goes down, next man up. Coach Adam is going to have a lot to work with this next season, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he manages all these minutes and who's going to be in the rotation, who's going to be out of the rotation, who's going to sub in for who, what lineups are they going to run. It's going to be a very interesting time up there in Denver in the high altitude. Um, I didn't even mention their projected wins. Their projected wins is 53 this season, and 53 is perfect. I could definitely see them going for a few more, maybe trying to clinch a higher seed down the line, but that's way down the line. That depends on how the rest of the West is shaking out, and all that stuff. But I think 53 is perfect. It's a perfect number. This is again, this I've said it again, and I'll probably say it throughout the course of the season. Even if they're bad to start out, this is going to be one of the best teams in the West. I genuinely think that. You have one of the best players. You have one of the best Robins and Jamal Murray if he decides to show up. You have Aaron Gordon, who doesn't seem to be slowing down. Had some really huge moments last year in the playoffs. Um, you do get concerned about his age a little bit, but it doesn't seem like he's slowing down. And then you have a bunch of the young guys: Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawthard. You have vets like Cameron Johnson, um, Bruce Brown, um, Tim Hardaway Jr. And yeah, it's a great team to me. Phenomenal team. let's move on to our next team, the Portland Trailblazers. I have a lot to say about the Blazers. I have a lot to say. The projected win total is 35 wins next year. Um, I'm not fully convinced this core of players. I'm not fully convinced of this core of players by any means, but I do like a lot of the pieces. For never going into a full rebuild and keeping some of the older guys, um, it has been a pretty good retool. I think, and when I see rebuild and retool, those things are interchangeably. I think they did go into a full rebuild at some point, but Jeremy Grant being on this team has always indicated to me that they want some semblance of veteran presence and they want some semblance of like what used to be a former All Star in Jeremy Grant. Um, has he done anything notable? Not really, but he's still there. So that's what I mean when I think rebuild. I think you just have a bunch of young guys and like a mid All Star, or former All Star. When they got Jeremy Grant, they were still competing. Damian Lillard was on his first go around. CJ McCollum was there. Yusuf Nurkic was there. All Enes Kanter was on that team, I think too. Like there were so many guys that they were still competing, and they've kept them and they paid him. And I think the problem is they can't get off that contract. But that's another whole thing. I'm rambling. Um, da 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 da. The key reasons why they kept some of these vets around and why they've shipped some of them off, and obviously, like I mentioned, all the names, um, is because they can mentor the younger guys. But the younger this team is, the better those guys have a chance to develop. I don't think Grant is helping anyone by being there. He's probably gone at some point this season. Um, I do love their center depth. I'm a Young Hansen guy. Ever since I heard his first name, and they were like big Chinaman, um, big guy, um, reads the floor well, tall. I was like, I'm in. Let me buy some stock in that kid. Um, Along with guys like Donovan Clingan, the departure of a notable figure who terrorized Blazer Nation for many, many years, DeAndre, and now in LA, opens up a lot more room for those guys to improve and get some real playing time. Saw some stuff from Young Hansen last night that was really good, really promising, really good stuff. I do like some of their wings as well. Obviously, you have Denny Avdia, you have Tumani Kamara, you have some other guys there. You have Jeremy Grant soaking up minutes, which isn't great, but it's whatever. Um, the guards remain the huge mystery to me. Sometimes they can show up for highlight plays and have one or two good nights, but putting together a full great season is imperative at this point. Dame rejoining the fold is good. Hopefully, he helps some of these younger guys improve. And when I say these younger guys, let's talk about some of these younger guys, younger guards, younger team. Let's talk about these guys. Um, you have guys like Shaden Sharp, who I'm completely sold on. I think he's just a good. When I say sold on, I mean like he's a good solid player. He's good enough. He's good enough to keep a team. Scoot Henderson continues to be the biggest question mark. Again, I'm gonna say this every time I get the chance to. These guys that took part in the G League Ignite experiment, the G League straight from high school, the G League pipeline, horrendous. Some of these players are absolutely horrendous. They're god awful. Some of them are you just shake your head like, did you ever learn how to play basketball the right way? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. You played for G League Ignite and you just got to put up shots and you knew you were going to get drafted anyway. Nevertheless, Chris Murray, who's still a big question mark, brother of Keegan Murray. Um, Ryan Rupart, who has some people interested. I'm not interested in Ryan Rupart personally. Tumani Kamara, I think is the future forward of the present and the future forward of this team. I forgot they still have Matisse Thybulle. He's still there doing things. Jeremy Grant, obviously, like I mentioned, Denny Avdia took some huge leaps. Um, in his time in Portland, is still there, looking for another leap, looking for a consistent 3-point shot. His defense is already pretty good. He's getting to the baskets all right. I think his floor what am I trying to say? His floor awareness could be a bit better, but what are you going to do? Robert Williams still on this team. Is he healthy? Is he injured? I don't know. I think I heard somewhere he's not healthy, so he's not going to play at the beginning of the season. Maybe. I mean, we'll see what they say here. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not healthy. I would not be surprised in the slightest. No, apparently he's healthy. There's no notes here, so he is healthy. Um, okay. Drew Holiday notoriously does not want to be there, but will probably have to be there for at least half the season. Good veteran presence also for these young guards. Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is the prototypical guard you want for a championship level team, and if he can infuse and guide some of these younger guards and forwards to being to playing into a role, to being a cog in the machine, I think that's great. Donovan Clingan, Yang Hansen, like I mentioned. Um, I do like Donovan Clingan as well. I haven't seen enough. I think that's partially because um, DeAndre Ayton was there. Hopefully, Clingan gets a look. Yang Hansen gets a look. Um, Damian Lillard out for the season, but going to be a mentor there. City Sudoku, who I'm slightly interested in. He's on a two-way. We'll see how many chances he gets to play with the big team instead of just being in the G League. Blake Wesley, and then Dupreeth. Bunch of names, bunch of names. This is the kind of team you want. A lot of talent, a lot of guys who you can just try to feel out, figure out, maybe attach some of these guys to a Jeremy Grant trade, get something back. Who knows? This is all speculation. Um, let's get into the wins here. 35 wins. Seems it's 35 wins. Out of all the nice things I've said about this team, this win total seems a bit audacious to me. I like what they did throughout last season. I think what's his name? Chauncey Billups is an underrated coach. I think he gets shit on a little bit just because, they haven't had the success they're supposed to have. Scoot Henderson hasn't developed the right way. I think there's still time though. I think there's time to see Chauncey as a good coach. I think there's still time for this team to develop. You have a lot of good stories like Denny Avdia, like Kamani Kamara, like Shaden Sharp. Um, these good stories still have me believe in this team a little bit and the development of this team. Um, I just don't know if they can get those grinded out wins like they did last year, with the West being better, being more stacked. Although they might be able to take someone's spot with the teams that are going to fall, like the Suns, like the Kings, who I project are going to be a little worse. And this would leave room for a team like Portland to sneak in there and maybe hang on to just a play-in spot and maybe get some playoff basketball for once. We'll see though. Um, I think 53 wins is audacious, but I don't think impossible. A little audacious, not impossible. All right, moving on to our next team here. If you didn't notice, we're saving the best for last. We're saving the defending champs for last because there's not a lot to say about them. Moving on here, second to last team, the Utah Jazz. Um, I think this year is going to be the year they finally are not going to be purposefully bad, because over the last course of the couple years they've had and the talent they've accumulated because of them being bad, because of getting good draft picks, I think they're going to try to be good this year. Just good, not great. They're just going to try to be good. Um, Feels like with the jersey refresh and an overabundance of young talent they have, they are poised to at least get out of the gutter and onto the streets to fight for some of these wins. Another mix it up team. I don't know who I said that about, but I said one of these other teams was a mix it up team. It might have been somebody in the East, but this is a team that could mix it up, that could catch some people sleeping. They're like, oh, it's just the Jazz, they're bad. And then they come out and win by like 20 or 15, and you're like, did we just play the Jazz? Like, they could get some sneaky wins in the beginning of the season. Once towards the end of the season, teams start figuring them out, might be a little bit harder. Also considering that I saw a stat today, actually before recording this video, that they're going to put out one of the youngest lineups in the NBA if their lineup projection holds, including Ace Bailey and other guys like that. Um, we'll see. That's an interesting stat that this is one of the younger rosters, one of the younger starting fives projected as well. Um, I'm not sold on Bailey, Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey's a bit. He did get rid of his representation though, which is a good sign because his representation was tanking his how do you call it, his perception around the league. I think him just being by himself and getting a real agent is going to help him a lot. On the court, I don't think I have any questions on the court. I think I know what he is. He's a put a ball in the he's a put a ball in the basket type of guy, and that's not a bad thing for this team. You have a lot of these guys, especially with the departure of guys like Colin Sexton, who was a defender but also put the ball in the basket kind of guy. Ace Bailey is going to come for guys like Keontae George from a couple drafts ago, who Keontae George hasn't really shown a lot. He's shown enough to stay on this team and be a part of the future, but Ace Bailey could definitely take Keontae George's shine and spotlight for sure. Um, I'm not sold on George either. That being said, Walker Kessler, the big man, top right of your screen in the purple jersey, makes me feel a lot better about this team. His defense is getting better. His offense is still to be desired a little bit. I don't think them not having a point guard is going to help them, but or help him. But I think him just being a defensive stopper is enough right now. And then when they get a real point guard, somebody that's actually going to feed Walker, that's when he's going to take his step. So we got to wait on that. Um, Also, you have, I believe that's Taylor Hendricks, right, in the black jersey. Yep. By the way, those are the jersey refreshes. If you haven't seen them, I like those jerseys a lot. Um, where were we here? Mix it up team. Um, from what I'm hearing, from what I've heard from sources say, I love that phrase. Everybody loves that phrase, right? Sources say, um, this feels like the year they're finally gonna move on from Lauri Markkanen. Left side of this picture in the purple jersey, left side. Um, he's finally gonna get traded. I hope he sticks around for at least like till All Star break so they can rack up some wins, and get some good like healthy wins in. I think catching some teams sleeping, um, keeping Lloyd Markin into at least the All Star break, and having a guy like Walker Kessler is good. Um, Sorry, I blanked out there. So they can rack up some of these healthy wins, but who knows? Um, let's move on to the roster, and then we'll get into the wins. The roster. I have no idea what this roster looks like, so I'm just going to dive into it. Excuse me. So, Walker Kessler, like I mentioned, Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, Bryce Sensabaugh, who a lot of people like, Georges Niang. Um, Georges Niang? Is that the Georges Niang, the minivan? Oh my God, Georges Niang back in Utah. Congratulations, Georges Niang. I forgot you were there. Isaiah Collier, I'm not sold on Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier is going to need to prove it to me. He's going into his second year. Um, or, yeah, second year. Yeah, yeah. He was rookie year last year, second year this year. Cody Williams, perhaps one of the biggest busts of recent memory. Cody Williams hasn't shown like anything. I mean, he hasn't really gotten a lot of minutes, but on a team that was bad, you should be able to get some minutes, and he just hasn't looked like an NBA player. Hopefully, he looks like an NBA player because his brother, Jalen Williams, looks like an NBA player, is an NBA champion, showed up in the playoffs. Hopefully, he can get some semblance of that. Kyle Anderson on this team as well. Did not know that. Um, pretty solid stuff. I like Kyle Anderson, former Warrior, former Spur, former something or another. Kevin Love also on this team. Probably doesn't want to be there, but was there. Took some media day photos. Mastermind of social media, Kevin Love. Oh, if you follow him on Instagram, he's a funny follow. Laurie Marketing, the lone All Star on this team, I believe. Marco Kessler might have been an All Star. The lone real All Star, I should say. Let's see here. Um, Yusef Nurkic making an appearance on an NBA roster again for his 11th year. Good for him. Kyle Filipowski. I was really impressed with Kyle Filipowski in Summer League. I hope he gets some real burn. 6'11", forward slash center. I hope he gets some burn. I would really like to see like a lineup of like, oh, we'll skip the guards for now, but like not Yusuf Nurkic, Laurie Marketing, Kyle Filipowski, and Walker Kessler. I think that'd be an interesting watch for at least like a couple minutes to see what they could do together. Um, Walter Clayton out of Florida, national champion from last year. Forgot he was on this team. I hope he gets some burn. Interested in him. I'm more interested in Walter Clayton than I am in Ace Bailey because I kind of know what Ace Bailey is. Ace Bailey also on this roster, the most recent top pick for them. He's gonna get a lot of time. Um, and then you get into a bunch of You get in a bunch of two-way guys. Then you get into like Sri Mikhailuk, who is okay enough, 7-year pro, might have a good game or two. And then you have the most recent acquisition for them, and Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba or sicko mode. Mo Bamba. Um, Mo Bamba is an interesting case of he can't really find a home, and he's heading into his 8th year, and I just don't know. He just might be a journeyman. He might be a journeyman at this point. I like him on this team. I like what they're doing. I like what Danny Ainge and his son are doing on this team. I like what they're constructing. It's just a matter of can they find all the talent they can, or are they going to have to dump some of this talent at some point? Who knows? Um, the 18 win mark seems a bit low. I could see them, and I hope they get to at least 20. Partly because I want them to, because I have some money on them. I have the over on them for this season, so hopefully they can get to at least over 18 wins. I think it's 18 and a half was the mark. So if they can get to 20, that'd make me a bunch of money and that'd make me happy. But genuinely, without me having money on them, I like the talent. I like their coach. I think this is a year they take a step. Is it going to be a big step? Could it be a baby step? Could it be a little baby step? I think so. And yeah, moving on to the final team, and they were the final team standing last year. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs. If I can get the roster to load, we'll wait on the roster. Um, the defending champs, the MVP and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, top left of your screen. There's not much to say. There never really is when a team is young and they keep their core together. They paid the main three in front of you, Jalen Williams, um, right side orange jersey, middle, Chet Holmgren, number 7, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, number 2, the MVP. The Oklahoma City Thunder paid all 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, um, from my memory. I talked about them a little in depth in my when they got paid video. I put a card in the top right corner. If you want to click it, we'll take it right to the video. You can hear me talk about the big 3 more in depth. Not necessarily the team. There's going to be about the team, not so much the big 3. Um, but they kept the team together, and they're young. Um, they kept what they thought was valuable throughout the course of the offseason, managed not to get killed by the first or second apron. I expect another great year from Shai. Hopefully, some more growth from J Dub, but J Dub really did win me over in the playoffs. I think he's like a solidified playoff guy. He's playing with a broken hand too, or like a fractured hand, which is super impressive. Um, I don't have any concerns about those two in particular. My main person to watch this year is Chet Holmgren, number 7. I need him, and I put this in all caps. I need him to become more consistent and actually healthy and play a lot of games. He was out for the most of last year, and he rode on the coattails of the other 2 guys, Shai and J Dub, throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of the playoffs. I let me read the rest of this. Um, I'd like to see him take a step to solidify himself and make him untradeable. Um, he's always a guy throwing in these big time moves. Um, I'd rather see him grow and be more productive and produce effectively with this team. And that's my main person to watch, man. I'm not really concerned about Shai, the MVP. I'm not concerned about Jalen Williams. The this is not a big brain take. They probably will be the best in the West next year, but we'll talk about it in a second. They're projected 62 wins. That's 62. I believe that's the highest benchmark for any team we've talked about thus far. With that being said, let's jump into the roster real quick. Again, I think I said, whoa. Let me slow down. Like I said, they kept what they thought was valuable. They got they kept a lot of the talent they had last year. Um, they have Jalen Williams. Both Jalen Williams. The one I'm talking about is Jalen, not Jaylen. I'm about Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Usman Dang, who gave them some pretty okay minutes, I think, at times. Lu Zhang Dort, who, oh, I wanted to mention this also. this season is gonna be really imperative if they want to win back to back, which is hard to do. But I think if the team is gonna do it, they could do it. This is gonna be an interesting season because this is gonna be the last season with a lot of these guys. Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein. They're gonna start dipping into the second apron and get some of these penalties that incurs. Um, with keeping guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and Lou Dort, they're gonna have to pick one of them, or you're just gonna have to ship out both of them. And this is also why it's a critical year for Chet Holmgren because he's going to have to take that Isaiah Hartenstein spot, because Isaiah Hartenstein is the backbone of the defense and provides a little bit on offense. But if Chet can take that next step and fight a lot on offense and a lot on defense, they could feel more comfortable letting Isaiah Hartenstein go or having to trade him. So I wanted to put that in here. Kenrich Williams, Kason Wallace. From what I'm hearing, Kason Wallace, a lot of people are pegging him to be or picking him to be like a dark horse most improved player candidate. I don't know about that, but I saw some really promising stuff from Kason. I like his game. I like his role in this team. Really good stuff. Isaiah Joe, Nikola Topic. Will he actually play this season? I don't know. Isaiah Hartenstein, like I mentioned, Shea Alexander, Alex Caruso, another guy who they might have to get rid of at some point in the near to far future. Um, and then you have a bunch of guys. Aaron Wiggins as well is also here, still here. They have a bunch of guys on two ways, and a bunch of guys who probably won't play. But who knows? Who knows what Coach Mark Dagnall might do? He might pull out some of these guys and say, "Hey, let me see what you got here." AJ Mitchell also here. Um, yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the champs, man. There's really never a lot to say unless the team absolutely like explodes in the playoffs and or the finals, and they didn't. They came out on top. They won. And yeah, that's it. That is this part. We did 5 teams. There'll be 5 more next, 4 or 5 more next time. That'll be the second to last part, and then we will go through in the last part the best in the NBA, who I think is going to be like the best, who will reign supreme and hopefully have a good year. Um, so yeah, if you like what I say, like the video. If you have an opinion, comment down below. NBA season's right around the corner. Consider following. Check out my other videos. I have a whole NBA playlist. I have a whole basketball hot topics. WNBA season just ended. If you want to catch up on that, if you're interested in that at all, and yeah, just consider subscribing. It's gonna be a great NBA season. We're closing on some other stuff at the start of the season. There are gonna be some more videos this weekend. I know this is going up on Wednesday, but a lot of these videos are gonna be pre-recorded, so I just want to give you guys a heads up on that stuff. Um, I did want to talk about the Sacramento Kings getting Russell Westbrook, but this video is running long, so I will save it for next time. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.